The CEO watched helplessly as her deaf son broke down in the middle of the grand ballroom, surrounded by crystal chandeliers, polished marble floors, and some of the most powerful people in the city. Conversations stopped one by one. Heads turned. Forks paused in midair. At the center of it all stood 8-year-old Noah, his tiny shoulders shaking, tears streaming down his face as he pressed both hands over his ears. Not because of sound, but because when panic came, it was the only way he knew to block the world out. Elena Brooks, founder and CEO of Brooks Technologies, felt every eye move from her son to her. She had faced hostile investors, aggressive competitors, and boardroom betrayals without blinking. But this, her child hurting while strangers stared, left her powerless. She rushed toward Noah, kneeling in her emerald evening gown. "It's okay, baby. I'm here." But Noah's sobs only grew harder. His hands flailed in confusion, trying to sign through tears. His movements were too frantic to understand. The annual charity gala had been Elena's biggest event of the year. She had spent months planning it. The proceeds would fund hearing assistance programs for children across the state. And now, under the lights and cameras, her own son was unraveling. A waiter whispered, "Should we clear the room?" Someone else murmured, "Poor boy." Another voice, quieter but sharper, said, "Why bring a child like that here?" Elena heard every word. Noah had begged to come. He wanted to see the ballroom, wear his little tuxedo, and support the charity that helped children like him. He had been excited all week, but no one expected the last-minute changes, the live jazz band louder than rehearsed, the flashing cameras, the crowd pressing too close. For Noah, whose world depended on reading faces and visual calm, chaos felt like drowning. Elena tried signing slowly. "Breathe. Safe. MOM here." But Noah couldn't focus. Her throat tightened with guilt. She should have protected him better. Then, from the edge of the crowd, a man stepped forward. He wore the black uniform of the hotel maintenance staff. His sleeves were rolled to his elbows, and a toolbox still hung at his side. He looked like he had come straight from fixing a broken pipe. Several guests frowned at the interruption. The event manager hurried toward him. "Sir, please step back." But the man gently lifted one hand. Then he looked at Noah. And signed one simple word. "Friend." His hands moved with quiet confidence. Noah froze. His sobs hitched. The room became still. The man signed again. "Friend." Then. "Breathe with me." He inhaled deeply, exaggerating the motion so Noah could follow. Noah stared through wet lashes. Then, shakily, he copied the breath. In. Out. Again. The man crouched lower so they were eye level. "Too much noise." He signed. Noah nodded. "I know." The boy's breathing steadied. Elena watched in disbelief as the storm that she couldn't calm began to settle under the guidance of a stranger. The man pointed toward the ballroom doors. "Quiet walk?" Noah looked at his mother. Elena nodded quickly, tears in her eyes. The man offered his hand, not touching Noah until the child chose. After a second, Noah placed his small palm into the man's rough one. Together they walked out of the ballroom. The crowd parted silently. Elena followed. In the empty hallway, away from the music and chatter, Noah leaned against the wall and took another deep breath. The man sat cross-legged on the carpet beside him. He signed slowly, telling Noah to count the lights on the ceiling. 1, 2, 3. By the time they reached 10, Noah was calm. Elena finally found her voice. "Thank you," she whispered. I don't know how to thank you." The man stood. "My name is Marcus," he said softly. "I work nights here. You know sign language? He smiled. My little sister was deaf. Was. The single word carried history. She passed away 5 years ago, he added. But she taught me everything important. Elena's eyes filled again. Noah tugged Marcus's sleeve and signed. You fast. Marcus laughed. Your son is funny. Noah grinned for the first time that night. Elena noticed then how worn Marcus's shoes were. How carefully stitched the tear in his uniform pocket had been. How tired his eyes looked. Yet he had carried more grace into that hallway than all the polished guests in the ballroom combined. Please come back inside, Elena said. Join us. Marcus shook his head. I'm not dressed for that room. No, Elena said firmly. That room isn't dressed for you. He hesitated, then followed. When they re-entered the ballroom, guests turned again, but this time, the silence felt different. Elena walked straight to the stage and took the microphone. I was going to give a speech tonight about inclusion, she said, voice trembling. But a few minutes ago, many of us failed that test. People shifted uncomfortably. My son was overwhelmed. Some showed pity. Some showed judgment. One person showed kindness. She extended a hand toward Marcus. Would you please come up here? Marcus looked horrified. Noah enthusiastically grabbed his hand and pulled him forward. The room broke into applause as Marcus stepped onto the stage. Elena continued. This man reminded me that accessibility is not a donation. It is dignity. It is understanding. It is making space before someone has to suffer. She turned to Marcus. What is your full name? Marcus Reed. Well, Marcus Reed, on behalf of Brooks Technologies, I'd like to offer you something. He blinked. A position leading community accessibility training for our company and all partner venues. Full salary, benefits, and the authority to make sure what happened tonight never happens again. Gasps spread through the ballroom. Marcus stared at her. Ma'am. I fix boilers. You also fixed a room full of broken priorities. Laughter mixed with applause. Marcus swallowed hard. I don't have a degree. I didn't ask for one. Noah signed excitedly to Marcus. Say yes. The crowd laughed again. Marcus looked down at the boy, then back at Elena. Yes, he said quietly. I'd like that. The applause this time was thunderous. Months later, the gala disaster had become company legend. But not for the reasons tabloids first predicted. Under Marcus's leadership, Brooks Technologies redesigned every event policy. Quiet rooms became standard. Staff learned basic sign language. Visual alerts replaced audio-only announcements. Sensory-friendly spaces appeared in offices nationwide. Other companies copied them. Marcus became beloved by employees, though he still carried a screwdriver in his pocket, just in case. And Noah? He visited headquarters every Friday after school. He would run into Marcus's office, sign jokes too fast, and raid the candy drawer Marcus pretended to protect. One afternoon, Elena stood outside the glass door watching them laugh. Her assistant approached. Board meeting starts in 10. Elena nodded but didn't move. Inside, Noah was teaching Marcus a new sign. What does that mean? The assistant asked. Elena smiled. It means family. She had built a billion-dollar company through strategy, precision, and relentless discipline. But the greatest change in her empire had come from a man no one in the ballroom had noticed until he chose kindness. That night, when Elena tucked Noah into bed, he signed sleepily. Mom? Yes? When I cried. You sad. I was. But then friend came. Yes. Noah considered this carefully. Then he signed the words that stayed with her forever. Maybe when people sad, we send friend. Elena kissed his forehead. Maybe that was the answer to more problems than the world realized. And somewhere in the city, a maintenance uniform hung in an empty locker, replaced by a new office key, a fresh nameplate, and a future opened by one simple word signed at exactly the right moment.